Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sunday Jewels on the Rise. It is 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the great old nation's capital, Washington, D.C. I am Judah Bernard with the Rise Creating Your Voice podcast. I am the wisdom dialoguer and the motivational warrior of the Rise Creating Your Voice. I am just happy to be here right now because it is important that we talk about, are you talking or who are you conversing with? This is an inevitable topic because basically we need to know, are you talking, are you conversing, or are you communicating? As I said, I am Judah Bernard with the Rise Creating Your Voice podcast. And also, we want everybody to come on board because basically we want to talk about this information from the start. What does that mean? Meaning that, are you really communicating, or are you conversing, or are you talking? From the get-go, we will be taking some biblical principles. So get out your notepad and pen because we want you to take notes, because some of y'all just may be talking. Some of y'all may be conversing. Some of y'all may be communicating, but we want you to know all the foundations in which that details, so you know what type of effective communication and conversation you're having. We'd like to welcome our co-host, Miss Rhonda. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
I am blessed. Happy daylight saving time. You see this blue sky behind me?
I know, right?
Usually when we're talking, it's usually dark.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
So thank God for daylight savings time. How
I
are
don't know if I like this saving time.
Go ahead and tell them about yourself. Let them know what you do and everything else, okay?
Hey, I am LaRonda Glass, and I am the owner and CEO of Jules Mentoring. And I also host my own podcast called Dinner and Dialogue. I'm a certified life coach and a licensed social worker, and I mentor children and life coach adults. I wrote my own journal called Journey Along the Way, Becoming Authentically Me. And I am the co-host with Mr. Judah Bernard on Sunday's Jewels on the Rise. And we have such an amazing time every Sunday. So that's me.
Yes, yes. We want you guys to just join in and make sure you tag some people to join in too, because this is important that we talk about this is, are you talking? And who are you conversing with? So, Miss Rhonda, if you don't mind, let me give a definition of talking.
Okay.
I looked it up in the Webster and things like that, and saw different adjectives and adverbs and things, but I detailed it too. Talking is engaging speech. That means the action of developing words or developing language out of your mouth. That's it.
Okay.
What do you got to say about that?
Candace said, hey, the video keeps cutting out. My part or Judah's part?
On my end, is it still cutting out?
I mean, I see you fine. And do you see me okay?
Yeah, I see you well.
I don't know.
Let us know if you see us. Put some hearts or do something. She said the video keeps cutting out on my end because sometimes I have that. Let me do this. How does that sound, Candace? Give us a wave or something. All right. So that might sound better. We want to understand, number one, is speech is actually, talking is something like engaging always.
Yeah.
You're actually just talking. That means, like I'm talking. I'm not talking at no one. I'm talking to you guys, but I'm just talking.
Just talking.
So the next thing I want to talk about is conversing. Conversing is engaging in a conversation. That means you have two parts, a giver who's giving the conversation and a receiver. Usually whenever somebody's receiving, they provide positive feedback. But if they don't provide positive feedback, is that actual conversation?
Good question.
So communication is the exchange of information. I'm communicating this to you because I want you to do something. I'm communicating this to you because of the thing. So I think what we still have to understand that in that there has to be key components in it too. Active listening and allow people to elicit their experience. Uh-oh. How are we allowing people to elicit their experience?
The community. Well, it depends because a lot of people think they are communicating their experiences and they may just be talking from the things that I'm saying that I'm hearing you say. So unless you are conversing and someone has your undivided attention, then you just talking and you communicating through talk your experience. Did that make sense?
And let's always remember, even in high times, what do we usually say in high times when we're heated? I need to talk to you.
Talk to you. Yep. And that's the number one thing that men be like, oh Lord.
Exactly. Whoa. That means it's going to be a one-way conversation.
Yeah.
That means you're talking, you're just engaging in speech. But is that the type of thing that you want to do? Because usually you go you go 0 to 100 real quick.
Yep, you get
And
very
you haven't
defensive.
given nobody the opportunity or time to respond to whatever that was. Correct?
And so most time people are not when they're okay. So like if people are not conversing, that means I'm not actively listening to what you are saying, but I'm listening to give a response. Is that kind of what it's like?
Yeah.
When you're not conversing?
You're looking for a response, but the person got to be able to communicate back to you. Because the thing is, most of the time when we say we want to talk to you, it's one-sided. Yeah. You're not going to listen to them because you want to be heard.
Because you got what you want to say in your head, and I'm just going to get it out. Okay, I get that, Judah.
And guess what? We keep on emphasizing our particular point.
Right.
That's it. Well, that you didn't hear me say.
That makes sense.
Somebody's just talking and nobody communicating. Because the thing is, it should be on both ends that each one is listening to the conversation and not the talk. Because the only thing you're doing when you talk is speech engaging. We haven't turned on our active listening skills until we're conversing or communicating.
So the comprehension comes from the active listening.
That part.
Because people can constantly tell you something over and over and over and over and over. And to them, they are communicating, but the other person doesn't understand. So when you are conversing, do you give more of an in-depth explanation of why you feel this way or why you see things this way?
Well, the one thing I try to tell people from the start with
I feel. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. Because if you start blaming me, guess what? Guards are up.
I can become defensive. Yep.
Guards are up. Or if it becomes an emotional, tactful type of conversation, how are we starting off this conversation so it won't get into that? Because the thing is, when the emotion keeps going, guess what happens?
Yeah, it's going to become an argument instead of
listening.
Yeah. I get that. And then also when people get in those type and they feel offended, then those defense mechanisms start rising up and you start acting and instead of hearing you back and forth at each I get all that. Yeah. That makes sense.
So what does that mean? What does that mean at that time? That how can we stop talking and actually have conversation and communicate?
You may have to split up for a little while and then go gather yourself. Well, for me, if I get in a situation like that, I walk away. Now I walk away. Usually I'm gonna go back and forth with you. But now that I've gotten older, I'm in a mindset where I'm not going to argue with you. Because I understand now that everybody has the right to feel the way they feel. But just because you feel that way doesn't make it true. Because there are a lot of times people
and let me stop you right there, Miss Rhonda. But that's your feeling, not the other person's.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, go ahead.
And everybody is entitled to what they feel.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that what you feel is correct, because a lot of times people run off assumptions instead of truth and logic. And so when you are conversing, you giving someone the opportunity to explain why they said what they said, instead of you being triggered by what they said and then you lashing back. And so when it comes to like you said, what do you do when y'all come to those points where you're arguing back and forth? To me, where I am now, it's best to just be like, okay, I need to walk away. I'm going to walk away. Then I'm going to go sit with myself for a little bit and think about everything that was said and see what's in this conversation that I may have took the wrong way. Because where I am now, I'm at a place where I look at myself first now before I look at somebody else. Now 10 years ago, now I'm finna look at you. But now where I am, I don't play victim anymore. So Rhonda, what could you have done differently? What could you have said differently? And then once I gather myself and my thoughts and I see my part, that I'm going to apologize and be like, well, I did take it the wrong way, or I did assume, but everybody is not there yet. So we can how do we give pointers to people that's not in that journey of just walking away? Because some people ain't gonna shut up till they get the last word.
And I think how we can set up some pointers for the people that need this and need some type of action. Start writing down what you want to say first.
It makes sense.
Make some bullet points. Make some key bullet points, because the thing is, if you keep it balled up inside of you, you're going to pretty much become very heated, violent, emotional,
true,
opinionated, and one-tracked.
Yep.
If you know your person that you're giving it to is not a conversationalist, you can hand them your bullet points so they can read them for themselves and able to respond back to you on that piece of paper.
Yeah, because everybody's not good communicators.
They're not.
I wasn't one, so I can understand that point, because I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know how to express things that was inside of me and what I felt, and I had to learn to open myself up to putting it out there. But then I was fearful of saying things because I didn't know how other people would take what I'm saying, because I didn't want to hurt other people, or I didn't want people to think that I was weak for feeling this way. So at what point should a person apologize for their actions? I think when you recognize that something that you did is wrong, you should apologize. And because sometimes people don't even notice that they're doing wrong. So you're gonna have to take for me, I have to take some time with myself, and then I have to be honest with myself and know that, I'm gonna be the bigger person and I'm gonna apologize. Because once you do that, it releases, for me, it releases it from you, if that makes sense.
So here's my question too, Ed, and I thank you, Black Tiger Black, for asking that question. At what point should a person apologize for their actions? Number one is, do they know what their actions were?
Yeah.
Number two, I apologize that I was not effectively listening to you. I heard what you said, and this is how I feel. The number one thing is, I would rather apologize at the beginning, because we all have flaws.
Right.
Somebody might not be able to hear well. Somebody not be able to comprehend what you're saying. Trust me, reading comprehension was part of our studies in school. I know a lot of people that can't comprehend when they read or they listen. So some people may have comprehension skills that are lacking. But then again, when anybody knows, number one is what they do is sit back and actually opinionate themselves to the top, and only got their brain focused one track specifically on them, they're not going to apologize because guess what? I'm right.
I'm right. Yep. And it took me a long time to for me, I grew up as the only daughter, and so I didn't really end up in a baby. So I spent a lot of time alone. So I really didn't have people to challenge my thoughts and how I thought things. So if I was alone, whatever came to my mind, that was my truth. And because I didn't know how to express that, or I didn't know how to communicate that, a lot of things people did offended me because in my mind, my thoughts were right. And it took me engaging with someone for him to be like, why don't you come out your shell and say what you want to say? But I couldn't speak it out my mouth, but I could write it or I could text it, but I could never communicate it out. And so now I'm learning, Rhonda, your assumptions has killed a lot of things because you don't converse, you just talk. And people don't understand, like you said, people didn't understand what I was saying because I didn't know how to explain the thoughts that was in my head, if that makes sense. So now that I'm learning to converse, I'm learning that I have to move myself out of the equation, similar to try to understand the other person and then give my point of view for them to understand me as well.
And that's the thing is, and if you can't feel like you're getting your point of view across, the first thing you need to do is write it down. Just stop talking because some comprehension level has been restricted.
That makes sense.
And number one is, guess what? If the emotions have been flared or something has gotten to the point where it's an argument, no one's going to listen. You got to revisit that. Put that on the table. Put that on the refrigerator. Table it wherever you got to table it at. And make sure in tabling it, if it's a particular person, we're going to revisit this and you make sure what is a good time that you can be able to revisit this.
That makes sense.
What is a good day that you can be able to revisit it? Because we have to agree on this together if we're planning on resolving this issue or this problem.
That's true.
And we don't have that dialogue. We don't have that communication. Everybody want to be heard immediately. And what I need to get out, I'm having vomiting all that information at one time. And nobody can dissect that at one time. They can't.
Yeah, I can agree to that because for men are very logical and I get that. And y'all don't run off emotions, but for women most times we running off emotions, and when we go to talking, baby, we gonna put everything out there, okay? And y'all just be like, don't say nothing. Then maybe 2 or 3 days later, y'all will come back and y'all want to have a conversation or y'all want to converse about it. But in the beginning of it, we just talking and y'all just like, okay.
Because what you say at the beginning is that you want to talk to me. So the only thing you're doing is engage in speech. You don't want to converse with me. You have set in your mind a one-track system and you think you're going to get the feedback, but the only thing you're doing is engaging your speech.
Wow. That makes sense.
That's it. And you're engaging your speech with the thoughts that you've conjured up in your head.
Mm-hmm. But our assumptions are from our emotions.
That's it.
Yes. And emotions change so quickly.
Yes, they do, just like the weather. It was just snowing here the other day in D.C. And look at it now.
But I think y'all need to understand that.
No. Let me be honest with you, because one woman that said it straight, and I told the story before, was that she assumed something about her husband. And made her so mad why she couldn't get flowers just like her mother did. Well, her husband had ADHD or was autistic and couldn't receive that. Why are you mad all the time? And she wouldn't tell him. But the thing is, what she put out straight from was how she had to change her way of thinking. Because now that she's explaining to him, sat him down, put notes and different things to remind him of what she wants, now he's able to receive that and give that to her. Like I said, you don't know your man. You don't know what level of comprehension he has.
That's true.
But you think they should have it because they have this or they have that. But nobody's communicating. Nobody's conversing. We're just talking. And 30 minutes have gone by and you absolutely said nothing.
That's true. Yeah, I think a lot of times women just vent stuff out, whereas men typically don't do that. Y'all usually deal with things inwardly, but we deal with things outwardly, and we vent.
Let me bring him on.
But we when we're going through something, we just want to vent it out and vent it out and vent it out. And so we are just talking. And sometimes it means absolutely nothing. Sometimes it does. But a lot of times it's just that women vent things out. We just.
But how can we change that motive? And the thing is, we do understand that sometimes you guys are emotionally advanced to the point that you want to get it out. But then again, how can we get to the point where now can I be comforted with your conversation versus your talking? Because your emotions is now in your talking.
I think to do what you said in the beginning, write it down.
Yeah, write it down.
Mm-hmm. Journal it. Talk in your phone, because you can talk in your phone and it say stuff. Because I'm having to learn that, because I don't want people to, because I am, now that I'm getting to this place where I'm learning to converse and communicate better, I'm learning some things don't have to be said, because it's just me and my feelings in the moment. And 10 minutes later, after I done spoke it don't even faze me no more. So that's a good point. So now I understand, okay, Ron, just write it down. Just get it out your head, because I don't want it to come off the wrong way to people. So now I know, like, just write it down and see, is this worth talking about? Because is this you? Is just having an emotional moment, or is there something logical in this that needs to be addressed?
So I definitely want to talk about the biblical principle in communication. Go ahead, let's tell the story.
Okay. So our conversation this week was about the serpent and Eve's conversation, that they was conversing or whatever.
Or was the serpent talking to her?
Or was the serpent talking to her? However it was, it triggered something in her head to eat the fruit when she knew she wasn't supposed to eat the fruit. So so this week, that's the thing that I called and want to talk about today. It's like, what was in that conversation that convinced her to go against what she knew was the right thing to do, even though she knew and she spoke to the serpent that they was not supposed to eat of the tree in the middle of good and evil. She knew that, but whatever he said to her, whether he was talking, if they were conversing or they were communicating, something he did convinced in that conversation or that talk, a seed was planted, something happened that made her go against what she knew was right. So this, yeah.
And I think what we have to understand, number one, is how we communicate, or how do we talk. Number one thing is, the truth is, we know specifically what God told Adam. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. For in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. That's Genesis 2nd chapter, the 16th through the 17th verses. Now, once we understand, Eve was not formed yet. She got formed a little bit later. After that, we know what Eve thought was said was, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but not of the fruit of the tree which is in the middle of the garden. God has said, you shall not eat it, nor shall you touch it, lest you die. Let's stop. What did the serpent allow her to do?
What did he allow her to do?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
It was conversation that, oh, is that what he really said? So let me tell you
Oh,
this pretty
he had her
truth.
second
He
guessing.
touched it, and she didn't die.
I didn't get that part.
That part. See, in her mind, it was a touch in there too.
Oh, so that's that light bulb moment for me. Wow.
So she touched it. I ain't dead.
Ow.
So why can't I eat it?
Wow.
So understand the importance of communication. Whether Eve received that second hand from Adam or wherever she received it from, that's just a bias, but we still have to understand from number one is that the interpretation for what she said, she put a little bit more extra on there. And he said, nor shall you touch it, but I'm touching it. And I ain't dead yet.
And then he went on a little bit for, and he gonna tell her, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be open and you'll be like God. So wow.
How tempting is that?
Very, and it goes to
because I touched it. And in my mind, I'm supposed to die if I touched it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the biggest part of this is, number one is communication. Number two, the important part of it is, if something is given to you as a commandment or a promise, take it as such. But like I said, secondhand conversations and gossiping turn exactly to what happened here.
Do you, with in the back of my mind, I just wonder what part of Eve truly knew who she was to allow that type of conversation to even be presented to her.
And as we stated, at that particular time, Eve was just formed.
It's so many questions running through my head.
Don't ask the questions. The question is about communication.
I know.
Remember, we have to keep moving forward with what was said, what was written. Regardless of what you came in this world not knowing anything.
Yeah.
You knew of the things that you should not have done. Like, don't touch that stove. You'll get burnt.
Yeah.
But we still touched it, didn't we?
Did.
Because we want to get that feeling. We want to get that sensation of how it felt. Some of it was hot. Some people got really, really burned.
Yeah.
Let's keep it real.
It goes to, for me right now, I'm thinking like the conversations that we have with different people, even people that we trust, our enemies, you have to be careful of what they speak to you. Because it depends on what place you are in life. Because if those seeds are planted on like weak grounds, they can cause a lot of different things in your life that can ultimately destroy you and destroy everybody around you. And there's be some good conversations and some good conversations that can make you better, and you can make everything better around you. So at this point, I'm thinking about that. You really have to be careful of what you allow yourself to hear.
But always remember this: misery loves company.
True.
You're feeling uncomfortable in a conversation or communication, set boundaries and let them know, I'm feeling uncomfortable talking about this. I tell people when they call me to gossip, I'm sorry, I don't gossip.
That's a good one.
You need to go and tell that person who you're gossiping about, because that person is more important to hear that.
That makes sense.
I
said that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
But that'll stop the chain. Mm-hmm. The thing is, we don't elicit the right things to do sometimes. We want to feed into that negativity. You can stop it right off the bat.
That's true.
You just say it. No, I don't want to listen to that. What they gonna say?
Nothing. Or they'll get mad because they know that they can't get to you with the mess.
That part.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you say? I gotta protect my peace. Don't we supposed to protect our temples?
At all costs.
That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So for those who just joined, we're talking about communication, talking, conversing, and communication. And we gave definitions earlier about talking, which is speech, engaging speech. Those are just words coming out of your mouth, language coming out of your mouth. Conversing is actually engaging in the conversation. That means we have a giver and a receiver of information. And in that, each one takes turn doing active listening and also in listening that particular person's experience too as well.
Yeah.
How do you know what Eve thought or we assume what she said?
I'm just assuming. Or what part? But
So in Genesis 3, 2 and 3, I know that Eve said to the serpent, the woman said to the serpent, we may eat the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst. We know number one in nor shall you touch it. That's automatically.
yeah. Now her knowing,
and we know that that fruit was in her hand and she actually experienced it. And like, I ain't dying. Which somebody can easily say, hey, I touched it because in my head, I ain't dead.
That's true.
And that's just an assumption that we're implying. But then again, it moved forward to something else, which eating the fruit. And we still know, number one, that's being disobedient.
Yeah.
So, and that's a great point. How do you know what Eve thought? We don't know what she thought. We can only read what's specifically in the Bible, and that's Genesis 3, 2, and 3, and what she said. So our thought process is exactly what she said. Nor shall you touch it. That's what she said specifically. So we have to understand that that process went a little bit further. Nothing they said about touching it. They said, don't eat it. Just don't eat it. Knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat it, of it you shall surely die. And that's Genesis 2, 16 through 17.
Yeah. She knew not to eat it, but the serpent, however he got her to rethink it through talking, conversing, or
he put that doubt in there. He put the doubt in there.
Yeah. That whatever he said to her convinced her some type of way to go against what she knew was facts and true, that she shouldn't eat that fruit. And so it just makes, like I said before, just makes me think about like how many conversations have I personally had with serpents, not a snake, but people, that has, convinced me. Well, not so much as convinced me, because I didn't know any better. I did things that I knew I wasn't supposed to do because they made it seem like it was just nothing to it. But then when I get in it, I'll break loose. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So so it just makes you think about the conversations that you have with people and wondering if their motives and intentions are pure, or if they got some type of manipulative and vindictive tactics behind it to make things worse for you. Because sometimes people can say some really good stuff and you would think that it's okay, but on down the line you'll realize, Lord, this really has messed me up. And not only did it mess me up, it messed my children up, it messed my family up, because things that happen to you just don't affect you personally. It affects everything that's connected to you. And think about if we were to be on a job and people do little scandalous things, they're like, oh girl, you ain't gonna get in trouble. And then you start doing little scandalous things through talking to them or convert, whatever, you start doing it, and then everything on the job just breaks down and everybody get caught. So, I think about stuff like that, and all these things happen from a talk or a conversation or something to make you think it's okay.
And the one thing we still got to remember, and I think like Psalm 4862 says, it's our own desire.
Yeah.
You still have choices on whether you're going to do it or not. And then again, we just inquisitive by nature. Very inquisitive. But then again, when you're going to ask that why beyond that inquisitiveness? When you're going to ask that why? Oh, should I be doing this?
I think when you get a better understanding of yourself.
I hear the plan, but why should we do it? And that's why I started asking people. I know when people brought up that the what was they call it, the Underground Railroad and some other things, I said, I'm not doing that. I let them know I wasn't doing it. I had about 100 people call me, oh, you'll be good for this. I said, no, I won't. I said, because that's going to end and it's going to break up a lot of relationships. And most important part, our African American and Black and brown community are the ones that's doing it. We already divided so much. And when you involve money, you get more divided.
Man, don't mess with nobody corns, baby.
Exactly. So I told them immediately, I'm not doing it. Oh, people wanted me to get, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Because guess what? I already did my own research in order for me to do the necessary thing. That's just like God told me, don't eat from that tree. Don't eat. It's going to turn into chaos.
And that's most definitely what he said.
So, you know, my whole prescriptive now is no chaos, no confusion. That's my religious practice. So guess what? Anytime chaos and confusion come my way, I can implement that. That's my religious practice. And you must honor that.
Yep. I agree to that. Nothing should be said that interrupts your peace.
At all.
When it interrupts your peace, it's time to cut it short.
But then again, we fall into that emotion piece of it where we allow it to corrupt our peace.
Yeah.
Then what do we do then?
You have to get back.
Forget about what God said. We want love now. Let's keep it real. We truth and transparency here. Come on, let's go.
I wasn't prepared for that one, Judge.
Come on. It's all about that communication. Because you have to communicate the right thing all the time.
That's true.
It's just not separate situations in which we are accustomed to. Because now I'm feeling lonely. Or now I'm feeling a certain type of way that I must try to savage or have that appetite for that different thing. And the biggest part is you have to stay in good practice each day.
That's true.
Each and every day. Because guess what? Those serpents are out there.
Every day.
And they gon' what they slither, do whatever they do. Slide up in your DM, whatever they do.
I told you I dealt with one for a long time and didn't even know. They good. They are good. But I think
what they call it, stunning mouths.
I truly believe, Judah, until you know who you are and what you want out of and you know your value, you will entertain a serpent in your face daily and not even know that they're a serpent. So you really have to be in tune to first your higher power and discernment needs to grow, and you got to get to the place where you know who you are and what you deserve and worth, because I'm telling you, serpents are cunning, sneaky, and baby, they are alive and well in people every day, all day.
And the one thing that I try to tell people that sometimes we give our most to people that don't deserve it.
Oh, God, yes.
And in that being said is, just because you're doing something, they don't have to know.
That's true.
When they have too much information, guess what? That information can either help you or hurt you.
That's true.
So I want people to understand what that means, meaning that we need to be in Christ at all times and in the Holy Spirit. Because basically, if we get into the flesh always, that's true. Psalm 48:6-2. They give you what they believe
you want, and I agree.
And they'll give it to you
freely.
Give it to you, so now. But then again, is if we ask and discern what we need at that particular time, we can only become better if we continue to practice it. And how do we practice that? How do we practice better communication with those servants?
Consistently talking.
You can say no.
Yeah. First, consistently being with yourself to understand what you want. Then, when they come up, you can be like, no.
And you don't have to say it a no like that. You can say, I'm currently doing something. Because my thing is, I'm going to tell you how I did. I'm being very honest with you guys. Somebody wanted to date me. And I was looking like, I'm just not in a space to date right now. Being that I was probably vulnerable. And we all got hormones rolling. Mm-hmm. But you have to understand, to be a better person, you have to sometimes say no. And know what space you're in, even if you need that emotion and love. Let me tell you, I have 12 pillows on my bed. 12. They wrap all the way around me.
Okay, Stephanie.
Because you have to know in your own mind that you're okay.
But that took time with you getting to know yourself, though, before you was able to say no, right?
Oh, I'm being honest. Yes. There's been times you just go after it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the dumb me. But the new me, this knowledge me, can be able to resist temptation.
Yeah.
And know what that feels like and what it looks like in my eyes now. To know that people are going to come after me. I mean, I'm not a bad looking person, but at the end of the day, that don't mean I need to be in everybody's face.
Mm-hmm. And you don't have to entertain about everybody. That's true.
So
that's self-control.
That's what I call it too. Do we have
a lot of people don't have that
on the platform? Any more questions? Any more questions? Any more comments? Rhonda, you tapped out.
I just think about everything you said because it's like, whew.
Yes, the 12 tribes, the tribe of Judah.
I know the Bible tells us we have to die to the flesh daily. So
always.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta wash that flesh off. You gotta.
It's not an easy road.
Huh?
It's not an easy road.
It's not an easy road, but like I say, I'm visual. When I take showers and baths, it's sort of like I'm washing that flesh off. I watch it go down the drain. That dead skin, that's my flesh washing off down that drain. Mm. I look at visuals.
So you visualize the stuff just.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I visualize it. I have to. That's me.
I mean, I don't think nothing wrong with it. I just never thought about it that way. Mm-hmm. It's just like I have like light bulb moments, like, dang, oh.
and you have to surrender
so
daily too as well.
Huh?
You have to surrender daily too as well.
Yes. So it's like it can happen daily. Like I could be listening to something, I could be reading something, and it's like, and I know it, but it's like he's like, oh, just like with you the other day we was talking. I said, so that means at the real, you were like, yeah, and I'm like, oh, those light bulb moments.
We have a lot of them, especially in the transition and the transformation too as well. And what we still have to understand that we're continuing to grow in Christ. Mm-hmm. Continue to ask the Holy Spirit, surrender, and continue to do that daily. Because if you practice it daily, the more knowledge will come. The more wisdom will come. But then you have to ask for those things too. And I don't know what everybody wants from God, but that's your own individual plan.
And that comes, you have to put something in your spirit daily. I am a firm believer of putting something in your spirit daily to help you maneuver through the day, because things come so quickly and you have to be prepared for when those things come, because tragedy comes daily. Something comes up daily. And I think that when you start your day with something spiritual, it kind of helps you focus your mind for those conversations, mm-hmm. different things that's going to come up in the day. So every day I try to put something in me spiritually.
And I mean, and let them know what that is, whether it's affirmations or whatever.
Yeah, I listen to a prayer and a motivational thing on YouTube, and sometimes I listen to the affirmations on YouTube. But every morning I listen to a prayer, I pray, and then I listen to something motivational because you can listen to TD Jakes motivational stuff and all type of stuff you can just find on YouTube to just kind of lift your day before you get your day started. Affirmations, they have different videos with affirmations to just build you up and let you know who you are in Christ and different things like this. So I really enjoy doing it because it really helps me stay focused on my day. And I don't engage in unnecessary conversations and things because I don't have the mind to do it.
I totally agree with you. But in that, how can people continue to move forward on the righteous things and doing the necessary things that we need to do as people of God?
I think that you have to, like we always say, continue to self-evaluate, to see where you are, to know who you are, and to understand who you are. Because sometimes people can know who they are and they can be spoken to them, but they don't understand it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
get as much knowledge as you can get on. Like if you have an issue, get as much knowledge as you can. Because these days, especially on YouTube and social, it's just free everywhere. Learning how to apply that daily because the application of stuff is not easy. Because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times you're learning to apply things to your life, it takes time to do that. And so it's just a lot of what is okay. I just got your thing.
Okay.
That's it. But yeah, just learning yourself and then learning, what's taking away your peace. If it's taking away your peace, then I really feel like it really doesn't deserve your time.
Right. So I know we're running out of time for a little bit. We want to know if anybody else want to come on. We're actually talking about, are you talking or who are you conversing with? And we did describe what talking was, is just actually speech engaging. Also, conversing is engaging in the conversation, and communication is the exchange of information. Only those two in conversing and communication, there needs to be a giver and a receiver. And also, there needs to be active listening playing in both parts. And also, allow the people to elicit their experience before you respond. The most thing when people are just talking, most of the people are just gossiping, and then people just giving their own opinions, and no one is having an actual conversation because nobody's listening to their experience. They're listening to their opinions. Are there any other questions or any comments?
Not for me.
Well, we definitely want to thank you guys for joining on this daylight saving time. As you see how blue the sky is outside, like I said, it'll be dark most of the time. Yes, this is not a filter in my background. That is actually the skyline of Washington, D.C.
Oh wow.
That is not a filter. That is actually the skyline of Washington, D.C. Yeah, I'm in my place as usual. So you will notice that it's not a skyline. Look, am I at the right handle? Look, I'm pulling, and I can push the window open, so it's not a filter.
It's so pretty.
Yes, and I thank you. So the thing is, we want you guys to continue to join us every Sunday with Sunday Jewels on the Rise. And every Saturday we post about what that topic is going to be. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, not only to the Rise Creating Your Voice on Instagram, but also Jules Mentoring LLC as well. Before we leave, would you like to part with some words of wisdom or some jewels that we're going to set on this Sunday, March 13th for them?
Okay, my Sunday jewel is be careful of who you entertain.
Uh-oh.
Because you have to be able to discern who's in your presence. Because if you're not able to discern it, then you can allow yourself to be in things that you may not would have been in if you would have been more aware. And I know people with good hearts, they want to see the good in everybody. I get that. But sometimes you just have to be careful of who you entertain, because it could be wolves in sheep clothes, or it could be serpents that want to deter you from where you need to go in your purpose. So whenever, for me now, I'm learning that when I encounter people, my question that I ask God is, what is the purpose for this person being in my life? And if it is for, and I ask, and I say, if they mean me no good, remove them. So just be careful of who you entertain. And also, I am doing a virtual and in-person workshop on March 26th from 12 to 3. Registration is on my website, www.julesmentoring.com. So if anyone is interested in attending that workshop, either virtually or in person, the registration is $10, because we will serve brunch that day. So you can just hop on over to www.julesmentoring.com and register, and we'll have that workshop on March 26th, beginning at 12 o'clock until 3.
Is that virtual breakfast too?
Well, no, you can't have a virtual breakfast, but if you come in person, you're going to eat brunch.
Okay. You don't always got to make it funny.
I know. Now, if you want to cook breakfast at home and eat while we eat,
there you go. See, there you go. So we can always have virtual breakfast. The one thing that I want to leave is, the Sunday jewel I want to leave is, know when you're talking. And when you're talking, usually there's not a receiver or a giver. You're just throwing out your opinions. I want you to be mindful of the things that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Because some things are not warranted for to be talked about. Then the talking turned into gossiping.
Right.
We also want to know what conversing is. Understand what conversing means. It's engaging in conversation. If the conversation is one way, that means you're talking. Okay? And then communication. Communication is the exchange of information. If you're the only one talking, once again, you're not communicating. You're not conversing. You're talking.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the exchange of information. That means somebody is trying to give something back to you, and either one. And the two C's, conversing and communication, always remember there's a giver and a receiver. And the receiver provides feedback. And also put on your active listening skills. Ask questions to things that you have. And the giver should be able to make sure that time is allotted for you to ask those questions. But sometimes people just ramble off. Guess what? They're just talking. And always remember to elicit that person's experience. Whatever they're going through, it's about their experience, and they're trying to give it to you. Although they may be poorly giving it to you, you can ask questions in between, because I stop people in a minute and say, well, hold on, let me understand what you're saying, because some people do not convey the information correctly. While you're listening to it, they want to go all the way around the bush, but doesn't have a punchline at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments? Always remember Sunday Jewels on the Rise, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know it's hard for people to get out, but now we got the sun still up while we're on, and we want to make sure that we emphasize these blue skies, and also Jules Mentoring LLC. Don't forget to go to her workshop on March 26th. Sign up on www.julesmentoring.llc. And also, step on over to the Podbean app, too, as well, and come listen to us, because we're going to be talking about with Stephen Martin on every Tuesday up until March 29th. Season 5 is what's important in your life. What are the important things in your life? Once again, tell a friend, tell a phone, tell your spouse, heck, tell everyone. We'll see you on the next podcast. And have a good night. It's March 13th. All right? Good night.
Good night.